The two words, archbishop and activist, would normally rarely be spoken in the same sentence, yet talking about South Africa's cleric Desmond Tutu, they seem just a natural pairing. Over the years, he remained consistently an outspoken defender of rights and a critic of those committing the wrongs. As Nelson Mandela put it, sometimes strident, often tender, never afraid, and seldom without humour, Desmond Tutu's voice will always be the voice of the voiceless. As a young man, he was a teacher, but resigned, protesting the appalling standard of Bantu education designed to keep South Africa's blacks the working underclass. He took on theology, studying, teaching and working in both London and South Africa. In 1975, he was appointed Anglican Dean of Johannesburg, putting a hefty dent in the invisible but very real colour barrier. In 1986, he became Archbishop of Cape Town, the leader of the Anglican Church within South Africa. Although he often lectured about civil rights, political events forced him to take a stance that placed him squarely in the public eye. In 1976, Soweto secondary students held a peaceful rally to protest against the government forcing them to learn their subjects in Afrikaans, the language of their oppressor. It ended in the brutal massacre of many children. Ensuing riots led to more shootings by authorities, with at least 500 dead and more than 1,000 wounded. Desmond Tutu, now Bishop of Lesotho, was a constant support to those marginalized, banned, and even banished by the apartheid regime. He fearlessly spoke out, his voice reaching the world press. An enemy not of the government, but of injustice, he maintained a respectful and respected relationship with many of the white population, an important opening in the fraught passage to national reconciliation. He pushed hard for Nelson Mandela's release, keeping international awareness high. Often harassed by police, he took great personal risks, appearing at demonstrations and rallies, armed with his own secret weapon clutched under his arm, the Bible. His unwavering efforts earned him a Nobel Peace Prize in 1984, then only the second awarded to a South African. Although a vocal critic of apartheid, he advocated reconciliation between South Africa's many races, including whites. In 1993, Chris Hani, a respected ANC leader, was assassinated by pro-apartheid extremists, and the nation was brought to the brink of disaster. This was an attack on the heart of South Africa's black people, aiming to plunge the nation into the abyss of violence and bloodshed. Along with Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Tutu helped contain the public anger. Embracing the many races within South Africa, he told the angry crowd, "We are the rainbow people of God. Nothing will stop us, for we are moving to freedom." He was appointed to head the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, examining the crimes committed under apartheid. Although many questions remained unanswered, it did take the country some way towards healing of wounds. In the post-Mandela years, he continued to prove himself a man who didn't discriminate between race or colour, merely right and wrong. Defiantly, he called leaders to account, challenging their promises, expense accounts, and integrity. Sometimes referred to as South Africa's moral conscience, Desmond Tutu championed the world's oppressed peoples, including the Tibetans and Burmese. He criticised Zimbabwe's crushing regime and South Africa's failure to speak out against the crimes on its own doorstep. He was brave enough to ruffle the feathers of the planet's most powerful, challenging Israel's treatment of Palestinians and the George W.-led attack on Iraq. He asked, "When does compassion, when does morality, when does caring come in? I just hope that one day that people will realize that peace is a far better path to follow." And that pretty much sums up the Desmond Tutu philosophy: compassion and morality.